returned to heaven, he and the archangel Gabriel were talking. Even in heaven, Jesus bore the marks of the crucifixion. So Gabriel said to him, "Master, you must have suffered horribly. Do people know and appreciate how you love them and what you did for them?" Jesus replied, "Oh no, not yet. Right now, only a few people in Palestine know." Gabriel was perplexed. "Then what have you done to let everyone know about your love?" Jesus answered, "I have asked Peter, Andrew, James, John, and a few more friends to tell others about me. Those who are told will tell others about me, and yet others still others, until the last man and the last woman in the furthest corner of the earth will have heard the story of how I gave my life for them, because I love them so much." Gabriel frowned and looked rather skeptical. "Yes, but what if Peter and the others grow weary? What if the people who come after them forget? Surely you have made other plans." Jesus said, "Gabriel, I haven't made other plans. I am counting on them." Babishopi bami abahloniphekile, bobaba, bafowethu ebupristeni, abafowethu abasilandelayo namakholwa onke akhona, makadunyiswe uJesu Kristu. I have chosen to preach on Peter the Rock. Why? Because I believe Peter was the first diocesan priest, the first pope. Therefore, he's a model for all diocesan priests. Secondly, I'm preaching to future diocesan priests of South Africa. And St. John Vianney is the hub of the diocesan priesthood. Third, Jesus did not sideline Peter because of his weakness. He built his church on him. All that was required of Peter: love, 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 and love. Fourth, because of the status of the diocesan clergy in our country, if today we have come to bid the rector farewell, we hope the rector, including the staff, have advanced the cause of the diocesan clergy for the better. Last but not least, we need a unified body of the diocesan clergy in our country, across racial lines, across tribal lines, and across weakness lines. The majority of the diocesan clergy in our country is black. In the political world, black-on-black violence is so rife that you do not need a doctoral degree to see it. It is all over the place. Are they made to hate one another so much? Or is it in their genes to hate one another so much? It would be sad if we translate that to the church. I am praying and hoping, though, that the status of the diocesan clergy will improve, and we shall be able to diagnose in earnest what or who divides us, what or who destroys us, what or who denigrates us, and what she or he or they stand to benefit. In 1970, during the peak of racism or apartheid, 4 black priests took the conference to task by demanding to be parish priests. At that time, it was taboo for a black priest to be a parish priest. You can consult AFER, African Ecclesiastical Review magazine. They were tired of being glorified altar boys. These 4 black priests put their lives in danger because of us. Today, we are in charge of parishes. We are parish priests, sometimes by default because of the scarcity of vocations. But yes, indeed, we are. The 4, Father Mkhatshwa, Father David Muetapili, Father John Lofant, Father Clement Mukoka, and Anthony Mabona, they advanced our cause. What is it that we ourselves do to take our cause forward? Do we matter as the diocesan clergy in our country, or don't we matter? Well, I can't answer in the affirmative, and sometimes we are to blame ourselves. Let us take ourselves seriously, for Jesus counts on us. Some people refer to the gospel story we just heard, Jesus' conversation with Peter, as Peter's conversion. Others call it Peter's confession. Peter's confession is appropriate, whether we understand confession to mean a declaration of faith or an admission of guilt. But it is not easy to see how this dialogue represents Peter's confession of guilt. To see the penitential aspect of what is going on here, we need to read the story in the original Greek. In English, when Jesus asks, "Do you love me?" and Peter responds, "Yes, I love you," it all sounds right. But in Greek, we find that Peter is not exactly responding to the very question Jesus is asking him. In Greek, there are 3 different words translated by one English word, love. There is eros, which means erotic love, the kind of love that leads to marriage. Erotic love lies in the senses and emotions that find the object of love attractive. Then there is philia, meaning love of the likable, the admiration and devotion we have for a worthy person or thing, such as love for a hero, love of parents, and love of art. Likeable love dwells in the mind that judges the object of love worthy of it. Finally, there's agape, which means self-sacrificing and unconditional love, even for a person who may not deserve it, and when there is nothing tangible to be gained. Agape love is in the will. It is a decision. An everyday example I can think of that reflects agape love is the love for a cat. Dogs have a way of returning affection and being useful to the owner. but cats are something else. You know the joke about the difference between a dog and a cat. A dog looks at his owner who feeds him, protects him, and cares for him, and says to himself, he must be a god. A cat looks at his owner who feeds him, protects him, and cares for him, and says to himself, I must be a god. This is not a propaganda against cats. On the contrary, it is a compliment to cat lovers for their selfless and unconditional love for these undeserving creatures. The clearest example of the self-sacrificing and unconditional love we call agape is found, however, not in the cat-human relationship, but in the love that Jesus has for us, which made him give up his life for us undeserving sinners. Back to the gospel story. Jesus asks Peter, Agapas me, do you have agape love for me? Meaning, do you love me in such a manner as to sacrifice your life for me? Peter knows that he has not lived up to this standard of love. He knows that he disowned Jesus in order to save his head. So what does Peter answer? He answers, Philose, yes, Lord, I have filial love for me, meaning, yes, Lord, you know how deeply I like and admire you. You see why it is a confession of failure. Peter is saying to Jesus, yes, I like and admire you, but no, I've not been able to love you with a self-sacrificing love as you demand. So Jesus asks him a second time whether he has agape love for him. And Peter again replies that he has only filial love for him. Finally, unwilling to embarrass him any further, Jesus then asks him, do you have filial love for me? And Peter answers, yes, I have filial love for you. End of the interrogation. Jesus accepts Peter the way he is. Even his filial love is good enough. The Peter we see here is not the boastful man who thought he was better than the other disciples, but a wiser, humbler man who would not claim more than he can deliver. I wish we could all be like him as diocesan priests. Peter's confession here can be likened to that of the father of the possessed boy who confessed to Jesus in Mark chapter 9, verse 24. I believe, help my unbelief. What Peter is saying is, I love you, Lord, help my lack of love. My brothers and sisters, as long as there is love for God in our hearts, there is material for Jesus to use for his church through us. But if there is no love, there is selfishness. No miracle can save us from ourselves. As diocesan priests, our spirituality demands or calls for love for the diocese, that is, the bishop, the clergy, and the people of God, object of our ordination. object of our priesthood. Then, like in Cana, the wedding in Cana, there is water to turn into wine. But without this love, what remains is the love of self. None is being ordained to love oneself. In our worship, in our liturgy, we often sing hymns that profess of our love for Jesus. Think of, "Oh, how I love Jesus," or, "Oh, the love of the Lord is the essence." Peter challenges us today to realize that hymns like this only tell half of the story. The other half is that there is a part of us that does not love God, that denies the Lord when our life or our future or our well-being is at stake. Peter's example invites us to bring this negative side of us to God for healing. So I invite you, let us join Peter in his confession. "I love you, Lord, help my lack of love." If there is one thing we know for sure about predestination, it is this: God created everyone for success. God did not create anyone for failure. But what do success and failure mean? For most people, as for James and John, the sons of Zebedee, success means power and authority. But broadly speaking, success means to excel. For Jesus, success means people realizing and fulfilling God's dream for them. Jesus tells us, contrary to popular thinking, that anybody cannot be anything. Before people come into this world, divine providence has already crafted a dream for each person to live out. We do not come into life to write our own job description. We come with a divine job description in our hands and with the physical and mental traits necessary to get the job done. In fact, that is what the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception of Mary is all about. God needed a job to be done, that of being the mother of his incarnate Son, and he created a woman fully prepared and equipped specifically to do the job. No other woman before or after Mary could have become the mother of God out of their own personal effort or ambition. That is why Jesus tells James and John, the sons of Zebedee, that, I quote, "To sit at my right hand or at my left hand is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." Thank you, Father Manci. Thank you, Rector, for having come to the seminary to become Rector. I can only imagine how you agonized over the decision to go or not to go. Will I receive support? Will I be crucified? Whatever happened, do not regret. Be thankful. You fulfilled the dream of God about you. God has an intended destination for which he created you and me. But whether you and I attain this destination or not depends on how we cooperate with God's grace. To say that whatever people are or do in life is what God created them to be and do is determinism. The Bible teaches predestination. God has something in mind for creating you and me. God gives us free will to cooperate with divine grace or not. That is why, even though God predestined Mary to be the mother of our Savior, when the time came for her to accomplish this mission, God sent an angel to seek her cooperation. She's a perfect example of success because she courageously said yes to God's word, detailing to her what providence has in store for her. The way James and John see things encourages unbridled ambition, rivalry, and unhealthy competition among people. The success taught by Jesus encourages mutual cooperation and the contentment of realizing that we can be all successful because God has created every one of us for something different. God has enough dreams to go round, a different dream for everyone. Our ambition in life should be to discover and live God's dream for us. Herein lies our true success. But to vie and struggle with one another over the same dreams, that is failure. As diocesan clergy, present or future, let us pause and look at our cause. Like Peter the rock, God is with us as well. No need to fear. Let us cooperate with God. He counts on us.